Today on TimesCast, a British High Court ruled against an appeal by WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to avoid extradition.
It follows that the request for Mr. Assange's extradition has been lawfully made, and his appeal against extradition is accordingly dismissed.
This is Ravi Samaya for the New York Times outside Britain's Supreme Court, where 7 of Britain's most senior judges have just decided by a 5-2 majority that Julian Assange should go to Sweden, where he's wanted for questioning on allegations of sexual abuses there. It's the latest chapter in what's been an 18-month-long legal battle, and it's by no means the end, it looks like.
Can I ask your lordships and your ladyship to vary that order so that it is stayed for 14 days to permit us to make that application?
That seems a reasonable request, and
I'm grateful, Lord.
Accede to it.
Assange's team then have 7 days for a final appeal to the European Court. Assange himself was not in court today to hear what is perhaps the most momentous judgment of the 18-month legal battle because, according to supporters, he was stuck in traffic. Outside court, there were a number of protesters, but they were outnumbered by the media, which is quite a marked change from the beginning of this legal battle 18 months ago. Several of Assange's celebrity supporters who've been in court for much of the time, the socialite Jemima Khan and Bianca Jagger, were not around today, which some people said is perhaps indicative of how WikiLeaks has dwindled over the 18 months since Assange has been fighting this legal battle. Its system for processing new leaks has been down for some time, and Assange himself has said that without new money and without new injections of energy, WikiLeaks might not be the force it once was.
What really caught attention here was a statement that WikiLeaks itself issued just as the British court sat, indicating that their concern, that's just to say Mr. Assange's concern, has always been beyond these processes here, beyond the sexual abuse allegations in Sweden, to the much more serious possibility that when the British and Swedish legal processes have run their course, the United States may show its hand, unsealed what WikiLeaks says is a sealed indictment handed down by a grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia, for espionage against Mr. Assange. So in a curious way, these processes in Britain have acted as a kind of firewall for him against the much more serious possibility of having to face extradition to the United States, criminal charges of the most serious kind, and on conviction, a very lengthy jail term.
Iran confirmed Tuesday that Flame, a data mining virus, had spread into the computer systems of high-ranking Iranian officials, potentially causing even more damage than the notorious Stuxnet virus.
Stuxnet was aimed at Iran's nuclear program. It was a small piece of malware that was hidden inside switches that are used to turn centrifuges, which Iran uses to enrich uranium, on and off. This new virus, Flame, is the 4th virus that has hit Iran's computer systems. And it really adds to an Iranian feeling of being besieged. They also look at other incidents, mysterious explosions at missile bases, mysterious explosions of gas pipelines, and they feel that their enemies, America and Israel, are involved in covert warfare against Iran's economical infrastructure. Now, of course, this has not been proven, but it's certainly how they feel. Now, we mustn't forget, this comes at a time that Iran is trying, from its point of view, to reach out to the West. They are engaging in talks that are ongoing. The next meeting for talks between Iran and world powers is scheduled for 18th of June in Moscow. And of course, the Iranians feel that this is not contributing to a good atmosphere. And I spoke to an important newspaper columnist yesterday from a state newspaper, and he told me, how can we ever trust the Americans? On one hand, they want to talk with us about the nuclear program, and on the other hand, they are possibly sending these viruses our way. In the end, we feel that they don't really want to talk to us, he said, but their goal is to overthrow our Islamic system.
Guitarist and folk singer Doc Watson died Tuesday at the age of 89. Mr. Watson elevated the guitar's status in bluegrass and country music, and his flat picking style influenced generations of folk and rock guitarists. Blind since infancy, he began playing the guitar in North Carolina as a child. In the 1950s, he adapted rapid-fire melodies normally played on the banjo and fiddle to the guitar. It would become his hallmark technique.
I'm gonna sit down beside my Jesus.
His son Merle later joined him on stage, leading to a partnership that won multiple Grammys. They played together until Merle died in a tractor accident at 36. Mr. Watson continued to perform into his late 80s.